Morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. Welcome to this CSW session on strengthening the women's movement through cross-generational unity. My name is Patty, and I'll be your host and moderator today. I'm the International Affairs Coordinator at the Garden Hole Foundation, which also serves as the Secretary of the Asian Network of Women's Shelters. You can just call it the ANWS. The network works to unite, promote, and strengthen the women's shelter movement across Asia to help ending all forms of gender-based violence. If you are interested in learning more or getting involved, feel free to reach out to us after this session. And now, we are so excited to have 6 amazing women activists with us today, all from different countries, who will be sharing their experiences in driving social change. But before we jump in, I'd like to invite Ingrid, the Director of the International Affairs Center at the Garden Hole Foundation, to share a few words with us. So let's give a warm welcome to Ingrid.
Thank you, Patty. Honorable speakers, distinguished guests, and dear friends, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you joining from different parts of the world. It's truly a pleasure to welcome you to strengthen women's movement through cross-generational unity. Today, we're so fortunate to have 6 inspiring women activists from across Asia with us, who are all leaders, dedicated their lives to making real social change happen. The women's movement has come a long way, shaped by the struggles and victories of those who came before us. Each generation has brought its own challenges, but one thing remains clear: when we come together, we're stronger. For the past 37 years, the Garden Hole Foundation has been committed to advancing the women's movement, whether through supporting survivors of gender-based violence, working with like-minded organizations, or pushing for legal reforms that promote gender justice. This event is all about bridging generations, bringing together experiences and fresh ideas to keep the fight for human rights thriving. Thank you once again for being here. Let's listen and learn to strengthen our movement. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Ingrid. So we are incredibly lucky to have 6 distinguished speakers with us today. To make the discussion more engaging, we have divided them into 3 groups so they can focus on each other's presentation and ask questions directly, which we believe is also a better way to share their ideas with the audience. But before we jump into that, let's do a quick roll call and introduce all the speakers. So speakers, when I introduce you, I'm going to do a really brief introduction of you all. And when I call your name, and after the quick introduction, please answer one question. In your opinion, what is a women's movement? So after I quickly introduce you, please answer this question. In your opinion, what is a women's movement? So I think I'm going to start with Ms. Wang. Hi, Ms. Wang, are you with us? Please wave your hands to us. Okay. Ms. Wang Yuhao from Taiwan. She's the CEO of the Garden Hole Foundation. And she's the CEO from the Garden Hole Foundation. And
大家好，很高兴参加今天的活动。我想身为励馨的这个执行长，那我自己是从一线的社工员，然后到中阶主管，那到现在担任励馨的这个执行长。那我想我对于妇女运动的一个看法，它真的是一场持续去争取女性权益跟性别平等的一个社会的一个运动。那我想主要是要挑战我们的性别歧视，可以改善我们女性的一个定位，然后去推动法律跟政策的一个改革。那这是我对妇女运动的一个看法。
Thank you so much, Yuhao, for sharing your thoughts with us. Sorry, I haven't finished introducing her. You already know that she's the CEO of the Garden Hole Foundation, and she has been a passionate advocate for women and girls' rights for over 30 years. And we are glad to hear about her ideas about what a women's movement is. And so the following, we are going to introduce Ms. Matcha from Thailand. Matcha is a feminist activist and human rights defender advocating for the rights of indigenous, LGBTIQ+, and marginalized women in Thailand and beyond. So Matcha, we would love to hear from you. Can you wave to us? Yeah. So we would like to hear from you. What does the women's movement mean to you?
For me, women movement means a lot for me because we are not only talking about fighting for gender equality, but it's also we are fighting for development justice and systematic change, included gender equality, social and economic, as well as climate and environmental justice. That is the reason why for us as a feminist, the intersectionality is about to reclaiming land, autonomy, and right to our body, identities, and our future. Therefore, cross movement is also meaningful for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. And next, we are going to welcome Ms. Ondaria from Mongolia. She's an intersectional and decolonial feminist working on human rights, gender equality, and social economic justice. So, Ondaria, can you hear us? Can you share what's your perspective on the women's movement?
Try to be very brief. So I think for me, the feminist movement is a collective put for nothing short of revolution. And I also second what Martha has just said. And I think what we want is not just reform, is not just cosmetic change, is not just a little bit of tweaking of the broken systems, but it is about fundamental transformation, which, basically amounts to a revolution.
Thanks so much, Ondaria. And then we would like to welcome the other three amazing young activists. But before I introduce them, I would like to share with you that Garden Hole Foundation has launched the Asian Girls Campaign, which we just call AGC, for more than a decade now. And for AGC, we focus on empowering future leaders of Asia. And we are so lucky to invite some of them to join us today. And these are the three young activists we are going to introduce. First, we have Zena from Pakistan. She's the Garden Hole Foundation's 2024 AGC Girls Representative, and she's committed to ending child marriage in Pakistan's remote areas while empowering girls to shape their futures. Hi, Zena, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me clearly, Patty?
Yeah, can you see Zena? Zena, is your camera on?
Yes, it
Oh,
is. Can you
great.
see
I
me
can
now?
see you now. Yeah. Okay, so Zena, in your opinion, what does the women's movement mean to you?
Honestly, for me, women's movement, being a teenager, for me, I think women's movement means when both men and women come together to realize how important it is to achieve gender equality in the 21st century. So, to bring out such campaigns or such political initiatives where we could empower and bring equality in both genders is, I think, what women's movement means for me.
Thanks so much, Zena. And then we are going to welcome Tandin from Bhutan. Tandin, she's also another 2024 AGC Girls representative, and she's passionate about gender equality and mental health wellness. So, Tandin, can you share your thoughts on what a women's movement is?
Yes, thank you. For me, a women's movement is a ripple of change fueled by courage, unity, and the belief that gender should never define destiny. I think if you are in Taiwan, you know and understand more the other Taiwanese people. So I think that even in gender, a woman can understand a woman better. So then understanding women's problems, there comes the women's movement to bring about change about the oppressed voices of women. So I think that it is in the quiet strength of everyday women choosing education, raising their voices, and lifting others as they rise. So I think right now is also a women's movement because we're all here for the common shared goal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tandy. It's lovely to hear your thoughts. And finally, we are happy to have Regina from Nepal with us. Regina is an Indigenous youth activist, and she's also the 2021 Asian Girls Ambassador for the Garden Hole Foundation. She's deeply committed to child rights and gender equality advocacy. So, Regina, it is your turn. Can you share your perspective on what a women's movement is?
Yes, thank you so much for introducing me. Namaskar, everyone. So, for me, women's movement is like igniting the spark of confidence and self belief within every woman and making like equipping her with the confidence that she, regardless of anything, especially because of gender, she has the confidence to believe in herself, believe and go for the every dream and goals she has, and also that creating ensuring that opportunities and safe space where every woman feel valued and safe and confident enough to fight back against all the violences and uh, break all the stereotypes and yeah, live for herself.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks so much, Regina, and we're looking forward to hear more in your presentation. And now, before we move on to the first group, I would like to take a group picture. I know we are online, but we also want to take a group picture with you all. We are very lucky to have all the 6 distinguished speakers with us. So speakers, can you just make sure you look at your camera? Hi, Yuhao. Can you look at your camera? Okay. Hi, 约好 please look. 约好姐看镜头。Yeah， 我们要拍大合照了。Yeah, so sorry everyone.
我有开镜头。
很棒，那你要看呢。好 ，Great. So everybody, please look at your camera and smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Thanks everyone. Maybe we'll just take one more. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, thanks so much. Now we're going to kick off the first panel. For the first group, we have Regina and Matcha. So we say the first panel, like Regina and Matcha, each of you have 5 minutes to present and followed by a 5-minute discussion between you two, which you can ask each other questions or share your thoughts like based on your experience, because that's what we want to see in a cross-generational communication. So first we are going to have Regina to do a presentation, and then follow will be a Matcha, and after both will be done, and there will be a 5-minute discussion of you two. Is that okay? And we are going to play your slide from our side, so make sure just tell us that this is the next page so we can like start it. Thanks so much. So Regina, floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you so much again, Patty. Namaskar, everyone. I'm Regina from Nepal. First of all, happy International Women's Day to all of you. I believe in empower the girl and change the world, and this is about girls empowerment program. Next slide, please. So why GEP? So basically, GEP is the short form of Girls Empowerment Program. What is our major goal is to obviously promote the gender equality and empower the girls, ensuring that we eliminate all forms of violence and discrimination to the girls, and ensuring that we have equal participation and opportunities in the society, so that every girls can dream and achieve their goal. So that's why we bring out the project GEP. Next slide, please. So, what our core strategies that we use within our program, within the Girls Empowerment Program, is first one is coordination and networking, which is very important. We believe we work in the coordination with directly to the government, local government, and other local agencies, partnering with youth club, child club, even mothers group, to the like even very in the very grassroots level, and to the government as well. So that's what we do. Another is like we do capacitate and mobilization. We believe in like we work in the holistic approach, so every stakeholders and every concerned or authority related to girls, we believe in engaging with them, mobilizing them, and capacitating them, because with girls it is very important to have the understanding, aware, and educated and capacitated people around them to support them, to back them, and give that safe environment. And another major thing is advocacy and lobby. We do that because for the change, for the greater impact, it's always directly connected to the policies and budgets and all those things that we related directly to the government. So we do the policy and lobbying for the advocacy and lobbying for the budgets as well, and for to bring the policies that will support, give more opportunities and rights to the girls. And main at the top priority, that is peer mobilization. So first we equip the girls, we select the peer educators from the school going to girls, and then we capacitate them, we give them trainings, and they will share their learning, what they have learned within the program from the various residential training and other opportunities. And they are supposed to share those learning in their community, in their school, to other girls and other young people, and even with the mothers and their parents, all the communities. So basically peer are the core of our project, and they are the change makers, they are the agent of change that we really want from our project. Next slide please. So here you might be seeing like three things and might be wondering, I was only explaining about girls empowerment program, but here comes PPDC, that's peace and public diplomacy crops, and also DD and Dai mentorship program. So we work in this triangle approach. So among many, I have here enlisted three major programs. So the girls empowered from girls empowerment program will further take the lead and get the opportunity to be part of PPDC. So I'm also a mentor of PPDC. So peace and public diplomacy crops program is basically organized in collaboration with the KDF, Korean Democracy Foundation. It is initiated from there, and in this program the empowered girls and girls will now realize about the responsibilities as well, and like utilizing their skills and knowledge they have gained before from GEP, and now they will enter to the knowing the about the human rights and then policy and more about democracy, how finding out the roles in peace and basically emphasizing the democratic processes. So PPTC is another platform, whereas another further is Didi and Dai mentorship program. So Didi and Dai is a Nepali term for elder brother and elder sister. So it's like Didi and Dai mentorship program. So the empowered girls from GEP will get selected, will get platform in the DD and I mentorship program, where they will be matched with the mentors who have been already established in the field of their interest. So basically this platform is for economic empowerment, and also especially to guide the to provide the mentorship for the young girls for their career. So here empowered girls are being matched with the amazing entrepreneurs, business women, and also businessman. So that's why we have DD and Dai mentorship program. Next slide. So yeah, talking about what are the key achievements till now. It's been already 7 years. Now we are running in the 8 years that we have launched these programs. So we have directly empowered 112 girls, and they are the change makers that talk about, the peer educators. We directly empower them, and apart from that, within the DD and I mentorship program, 17 empowered girls has been matched with the mentors. So the mentors are all international mentors, and among 17, two of them have already started their own business. Now they are entrepreneur, young businesswomen. And similarly, other key achievements are like we have been like gender responsive policy changes. We have been contributing, influencing the local governments, provincial government, even the central government, providing our feedbacks and also contributing, influencing to come up with the better gender responsive policies. And yes, other recognition is like Asian Girls Community Development Award of 2019, and also girls from our from program. We also won the Asian Girls Social Innovation Award, through which Safe Buddy app is going under like being built. And then obviously Girls Ambassador, Asian Girls Ambassador, and UNICEF girls advisory group. So the girls from our program are contributing and making the global impact as well, working in the community level, in the ground level to the global scale as well. So I am also a member of YPAD, that is a global young people's action team for the strategies of JNU, Generation Unlimited, and the UNICEF, and also in the GPE. GPE is like Global Partnership for Education. It's a huge global network which work with across 90 countries all over the world, ensuring the education, especially in that field. And I'm one of the youth leader contributing there as well, and other COVID teen hero, and other, there are a couple of achievements that I have already forgot to mention here because we have time limit. And another major in PPTC, from PPTC we have directly graduated 35 graduates since 2021. And yeah, obviously strong leadership and advocacy impact at local and global levels. Next please. So thank you. This is my presentation, and I like to say the thing is like, yeah, I believe and we believe that empowering girl can really change the world. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Regina. And we would like to hear a presentation from Matcha. Matcha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I have a lot of PowerPoint, but I will skip a lot. First of all, let me introduce myself a little bit. I define myself as a lesbian, feminist, woman, human rights defenders, and a trail runner. Next, please. Next, please. And I am a founder and executive director of an organization that I founded 20 years ago. It's called สร้างสรรค์อนาคตเยาวชน. It means support young people to create their own futures. So our organization aim to empower young indigenous women, children, and also LGBTIQ. And throughout our program, we have so many programs that empower the young people, included feminist human rights and digital right education, feminist participatory action research, the economic empowerment and economic justice program, as well as gender and social advocacy program. Next, please. I also joined the global movement on advancing right to family for LGBTIQ people. Now I am a board member of an International Family Equality Days. Next, please. I have been recognized because of the impact of my work, included the Impact Hero Award, Woman Changemaker of UNFPA Thailand, as well as the one of the most influenced women in Thailand is called Mirror 50 Power of the Now. Next, please. At the global level, I also acknowledged as 100 women in 2023. And also many years ago, I was acknowledged as a 5 activist you need to know, because I have been working a lot at the local, regional, and global level in terms of advancing rights for LGBTIQ people and indigenous people along Thai-Myanmar border. Next, please. Then you will have some question what it means to pioneer feminist activism in Thailand and beyond. We actually centering the indigenous ethnic minority and LGBTIQ voice. We are challenging the structural oppression that rooted by patriarchy, which also create a gender-based violence against women, LGBTIQ, and girls. Therefore, we actually advocate to end all form of discriminations. The most importantly, as we are put indigenous people in the heart, because most of us are defined as an ethnic minority and indigenous people, we are actually fighting for land rights, environmental and economic justice. Next, please. We actually successfully nurturing thousands of young indigenous people along Thailand-Myanmar border. Last year alone, we empowered 1,000 young feminists, and we have the vision that in the next 10 years, we are going to have 10,000 young families who are empowered by สร้างสรรค์อนาคตเยาวชน and please join us. Next, please. The impact of our work is not only we are successful in increasing capacity and leadership of young indigenous people that they be able to advocate for their own people, for their own community at the national and regional level. This year, 3 of our young indigenous bisexual feminists also speak in the global level at the AVID Forum, and they talk a lot about what is the root cause of the problem, why indigenous people in Thailand face discrimination, but what it look like when they are being women as well as being LGBTIQ. But the aim is also to gain the support and recognition at all levels. We also in this year engaging with the Special Rapporteur on the violence against women and UN independent expert on the protections against violence and discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identities. Based on this, we're not only talking about our struggle, but also we're talking about successful story that สร้างสรรค์อนาคต is a part of it, which actually we are past the marriage equality, and I myself and my family finally gain the law protections. Next, please. As you see here, we are met the IE Soki expert in Nepal just a week ago. Next, please. And here we actually want to give one example of what it looks like if you empower indigenous young people. For example, last year, we created the trail running called the Village Trail that aim to create the space for women, children, and LGBTIQ to run together in their land and territory. When the other indigenous community join this running race, they are commitment to expand our activity in this year. The young indigenous women leader also create the safe space and have 120 indigenous women and children join the running race. And the running race aim not only to create safe space for women to run together, for LGBTIQ to gain acknowledgement, for children that they be able to run with their family and their moms, but it's also talking about environmental justice and climate justice. And we actually just finished the article. I will share later if you are interested. But most of the heart of our work is how we empower young indigenous people to uplift their issue and voice and representation at all levels. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Matcha. And then there will come a 5-minute session between you and Regina. We'd love to hear like you're sharing to each other, post any question based on their presentations. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
So the floor is yours and Regina's.
Regina, I'm so inspired by your activism. I also believe that anyone who listening to your experience will really keen to learn more about you. Can you also tell us about what keep you going to this path, being girl and fighting for gender equality and carrying out your indigenous identity is not easy, but what bring you forward? Who inspire you or what inspire you? Can you tell us more about it?
Thank you so much, Macha. So answering that question, I have to roll back to the very early age. So yes, as I have, there was already mentioned, like I belong to Magar community, which is one of the ethnic group of like Nepal. And another thing is I had since very early age when I was not aware of even the term gender, why the role is being discriminated. So I have personally faced that mobility restriction and gender-based discrimination just because I was daughter within my own home and also in the society. I have witnessed in firsthand, and also I have seen many girls going through that. So I think that is one of the main reason from where the spark for me to advocate for myself at very first, and then to advocate for other girls for the equal opportunity and having that gender equality. That's ignite the passion in me, and I think that's why I'm keep going on. And I just love with the thing that for me, living, the meaning of living truly comes from the thing that I'm being able to contribute even in the smallest thing in others' life. So that's make me feel like, yeah, I'm truly living my life. And I think these two things are the major reason that inspire me to do what I have been doing. Thank you. I hope it addressed your question. And yeah,
Yes.
now it's my turn, right?
Yes, please. If you want to hear any of my experience or any question, please.
So first of all, thank you so much. Thank you to GeoEdge personally. It's my really honor to hear you directly, and also to have you as my co-panelist. It's really inspiring to hear your stories and see how many things you have been doing for the indigenous people, for the as a feminist activist, as a human rights defender, and especially for the LGBTIQ community. I have been recently to the Thailand for the Hall Prize also, and I have seen there like Thailand has been doing so many great things. Then the Nepal, we are still lagging in those things. So my first question is, what inspires similar? What inspire you to be the feminist activist and human rights defender? And being as a founder of Sangsha Ankot Ayawachin Foundation, I believe like even being as a simple like age user, or being as a general or young campaigner also, we face lots of criticism, lots of struggles, and I believe I can think that how many hurdles, how many big challenges you might have faced being as a founder and leading your whole family of like to whom you are reaching out and making impact. I want to hear how you cope up with that, and yeah, what inspire you.
Thank you so much. I truly believe that many girls, our experience of faced discrimination started at home. I saw my mom was abused by my father. I saw myself unable to go to school with full support, and I have to work at the child labor since I was 9 years old. And I faces a lot of discrimination because I'm not fit in the binary system and the gender norms. But I see my mom who are stand very strong and firm that she want to end the relationship that abused her, so that she broke up with my father. Basis on that, she faced stigmatization, but I saw her how she fight back. And that is the reason why I was so inspired by my moms. On the other hand, when I growing up, I have a very strong commitment that there shouldn't there should be a support from any girl who want to go school, because without education, we are at risk of child marriage. We are at risk of, abuse our sexual reproductive health and rights. We are unable to create our own future. So therefore, I committed to, support girl to go school, and the girl and LGBTIQ who be able to achieve the higher education. Finally, they return home at the change maker. I have one young indigenous who I am support and working with 16 years, and she completes PhD and got Thai citizen 6 years ago. And now she leading the feminist participatory action research to fight the climate crisis and use her knowledge and expertise to address the challenging faced by her own community and her own people. So that keep me inspired. As long as, discrimination, violations existing in this world, I don't feel safe. My daughter will not feel safe. All of us will not feel safe. Therefore, we need to create the better world. So that my commitment, my role now, I have the job to do. I have to support young people. I have to amplify voice. I also committed to stand side by side with you until we are, have whatever protected art, included laws and practicing respectfully, and also, LGBTIQ people need to be protected in everywhere, included in Nepal. And I just returned from Nepal, and I really honored to be there for almost a week, and I learned a lot from the indigenous movement in Nepal and also LGBTIQ movement in Nepal. And I have so many colleagues there, and we are always, side by side and fight until we access justice like the others. Thank you for your question. I hope I addressed your questions.
Thank you so much. I missed the chance to meet you, see?
Thank you so much, Matcha and Regina. Sorry that I have to rush you due to time limits, but thank you so much. It's really inspiring to hear all the sharing from you. I believe that all the speakers and audience learn more about your stories and be inspired. Thank you so much for that. And now we'd like to move on to the second group. In this panel, we have Tan Dinh and Yue Hao. Just like the first group, with each of you will have 5 minutes to share your presentation, followed by a 5-minute discussion where you can exchange thoughts and ask each other questions or offer insights based on your experience. And I want to remind everybody that because Yue Hao is going to speak in Mandarin, so make sure that you check on the translation services. So I hope that's okay. And Tan Dinh, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, I am Tan Dinh from Bhutan, and I will be sharing about my project. It is called Ripples of Growth, focused on empowering women beyond today. Next slide, please. So I'll be sharing about motivation, project overview, achievements, and future vision. Let's go on to the next slide. So about motivation, next slide, please. Yes, I got the motivation when I was in high school. I joined a Young Girls Circle, a program conducted by youth centers, a program coordinated by Ministry of Education in Bhutan. And this program had a great impact on my mental health and confidence, which motivated me to work on similar initiatives. And from this program, I knew that I wasn't alone in my struggles. And as a teenager, everyone goes through a rough patch. So can we go to the next slide? Yes. So when I joined university, I found that students do not feel comfortable reaching out to mental health services. The students in universities are usually teenagers or adolescents, and they go through a lot. So they do not reach out to mental health services due to many reasons, but I listed 3 here: due to fear of judgment, taboo, and lack of information. And I did a little research by myself. Can we go to the next slide? So yes, here we can see 47 says that I do not talk about my issues to anyone. Can we go to the next slide? Yes, here 56% of the students that I got the research from says that they prefer a university friend who understands and listens to share their problems. Can we go to the next slide? And I also found that Asian University for Women, the university that I study in, is an ideal place for growth and women empowerment. So I came up with my project. All these are the motivations for why I came up with my project, Ripples of Growth, and it provides bonding and discussions on self-development journey, confidence, and career. Next slide, please. So the before action phase includes gathering participants and resources, and I'm deeply grateful to the Asian Girls Campaign conducted by GOH, as it provided not only funding but also how to put our ideas into action through PBL courses. And we did local presentations and participant registration. Can we go to the next slide? So after gathering the participants, we did rapport building and confidentiality form signing. These are the 2 main activities of my project, that is Ripples of Growth. So confidentiality form signing ensures our participants that whatever they share, it remains in the circle, and they're free from judgment of society or any rumors, anything like that. So another is rapport building. We did icebreaker activities so that participants can build bonds, not just as participants, but form friendships and relationships beyond the project platform. Can you go to the next slide? So we did discussions weekly, twice for 2 hours, and we identified problems that we face as women in the society. And the main problems that the girls shared were societal pressure, academic stress, time management, and personal relationships. Can we go to the next slide? So I'll be sharing the achievements that we had from conducting all these sessions. Can we go to the next slide? Yes, we conducted advocacy with the team. As we did local closing presentation, we did our advocacy on menstrual hygiene and stress management, because these were the main topics that the participants brought. And we successfully engaged around 20 participants who actively contributed and reported in their feedbacks that they had increased confidence and awareness. And the participants also said that they would love to join these kind of program in the future as well. And we believe that we created a lasting ripple effect. Can we go to the next slide? Yes, this is the compilation of feedback. And due to time constraint, I won't read it all, but I hope you can go through it. So the participants did love the program and found it very impactful to increase their confidence and self-awareness. Can we go to the next slide? So yes, the participants mentioned that they would love to take part in such programs in the future. So the future vision of the Ripples of Growth project is to expand to other institutions or online platforms and seek collaborations for broader outreach. Yes, thank you. And okay, can we go to the next slide? Sorry, I forgot my last slide. So I would love to end it with the short quote that says, small ripples can create big waves of change. So I hope that from this, you get to know why I named my project Ripples of Growth. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tanti. Thanks for sharing. And we'll love to see more changes that your projects bring us. And next, we are going to welcome Yue Hao. So for our audience, if you need to listen to the Mandarin, please make sure check out the translation service. OK， 月豪姐，请开始。好。月豪姐你，
对不起 ，OK，
好，
大家好，很高兴有机会来分享，立新在30几年前，我们执行的一个社会运动，是反除妓华西街慢跑。那我要先说一下这个这个社会运动的这个之前事实上在1987年跟88年的时候，妇女团体有在这个我们台湾的这个首都台北一个有关有名的这个色情街，就是这个华西街，这个发动了这个游行抗议的一个活动。那主要是抗议这个政府纵容人口的一个贩卖，那特别是这些原住民的这些少女。那虽然我们的警政单位在社会压力下有成立了一个这个政风的一个专案，但是我们没有看到这个问题有得到一个有效的一个改善。那之后立新基金会我们在1992年的时候也是在我们董事会的反省发现说，过去我们只是做少女的一个安置收容慈善的工作，不能够解决台湾的这个除妓的一个问题，所以我们改变我们的策略，去发动了这个反除妓的一个运动。那很重要的一个改变就是我们把它这个问题从色情问题把它定位是儿童人权的一个问题，因为过去我们在抗议这个问题的时候，很容易用这个色情或者是这个性工作合法化那这个事实上是一个古今中外都很难有定论的一个议题。那我们把它定位就是至少未成年的这些的一个儿少他不应该去从事这样子的一个行为跟工作，所以我们把它定位它是一个儿童的一个问题。那很快的获得了大多数人的一个接纳跟认同。那另外我们过去比较从这个道德劝说，那我们反过来比较是用经济的一个策略，或者是用给政府施压的一个方式，我们开始改变，是我们用这个立法的一个这个策略，那政府也会知道怎么样子去回应 那另外一个就是我们用社会动员的方式，那以前就是用这种抗议呀、游行啊、静坐，都会让这个多数的人会觉得，哎，这个很有压力，好像跟政府是一个对抗的话，那一般的民众，大多数民众可能不敢参与。那我们用一个比较柔性的一个慢跑的。慢跑让他感觉是一个比较健康的一个形式，所以相对的就吸引了非常多的人参与。那一旦这个很多人参与，就对政府就会形成这个压力。好，那所以最初其实我们去跟政府游说立法的时候，其实政府不太理会我们，但是到后来慢跑看到1万多人的时候，其实政府就开始对我们的这个议题，它是这个关注跟认同的。好，那所以刚才的这个照片就是，我们在这些整个一个反刍剂的一个社会运动的时候，不管我们到社区里面去办理很多的这个讲座，然后让他们对这个问题认识，那或者是我们跟立法委员去办理公听会，去做这个立法的一个讨论，那最后其实很重要的就是我们现在这个画面当中的我们动员了1万多人慢跑。那我们慢跑的一个目标就是刚才提到的是说，台北我们有名的这个华西街。好，那当然有很多民众参与这个慢跑的时候，还有开玩笑说，因为平时不敢去然后借着这么多的一个这样的一个慢跑的一个活动的时候，他们可以去满足他们的好奇心，好去一窥这个色情街是一个什么样子那这个是我们这个慢跑活动的一个这个照片好，那在下一张。那在这个立法通过之后，那我们为了要让台湾的民众知道说，已经有这样子的一个这样子的一个这个专法，所以我们透过了很多的这种行动艺术、装置艺术的一个方式，让民众能够去更认识这个议题。比如说，正好台北当时有一座桥要拆掉，那我们就让这些年轻的这个女性坐在这个围桥上面，然后去隐喻，就是我们的少女事实上就是处于在这样子的一个危险的一个处境，那我们应该要有一些的这样子的一个作为那用这样子的一个街头的一个艺术的一个方式，让更多的一个民众可以去认识。这样子的一个议题，那这个是在我们生活当中大家一起需要来关心的。好，那最后的一个这个结论，我们分析反足迹华西街运动，我们觉得会成功的一个因素，就像我刚才提到是说，它是一个儿童人权的一个议题，所以得到了一个大多数民众的一个支持。然后接下来就是我们真的是用慢跑相较于过往是一个这种抗议会比较是让一般民众会有点这种不敢参与的一个这样的一个形式。那这个部分我想这也是我们能够成功的一个很大的一个因素。那以上就跟大家分享。
Thanks so much to Tanti and Yue Hao. And then we will welcome the 5 minutes between you two that you can feel free to post question or share your experience with each other. So Tanti and Yue Hao, the floor is yours. Just a quick reminder, if you need a translation service, please make sure you click on the globe icon. And for all the audience, you are more than welcome to post questions in the Q&A section. If you have any question for our speakers, please leave your questions in the Q&A section. Thank you so much. Okay, Tandy, there you go. Or
Yes,
Yue
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Ms. Wang, your presentation was really inspiring to know that you committed around 35 years in the social movement. And I would love to ask, was there any defining moment that you decided you want to work on this? Because it is such a big part of life that you spent in this work. So what made you commit to this work for that is big sum of the year, that is 35 years? What was the reason for your commitment, or was there any defining moments?
好，我刚才忘了说哈，其实整个发动这个华西街反除妓社会运动，其实真正的这个主持人哈，应该是我们的前执行长季惠柔。那因为他有媒体的一个这样的一个专业的一个背景，所以确实过程当中也善用了这个媒体的一个影响的力量啊。那我自己其实我们在办这个活动的时候，其实励馨的规模大概是10人以下，也是一个小型的一个组织。那当时我的职务比较是社工还是在做个案服务的这个领域。那所以其实我不是主导这一个这个社会运动，但是我参与在这个其中。那我也从当中我学习很多的是，我过去以为是说，哎，我就是做心理咨商、心理辅导，可以改变让我们的这些服务的对象有机会生命可以有所改变。那我在参与这样子的一个社会运动，对我很大的一个启发是，我们事实上透过这样子的一个呃运动，可以去影响到这个社会的一个政策跟立法。那事实上可以带来的这个改变是更大的。就像我是说，我一年可以辅导的个案了不起20-30位，可是我们今天如果是立法成功，我们可能是可以影响到是所有台湾的这些的一个少女。所以对我来说，我最大的一个学习我会发现是说，哎，我除了过去我以为是说，哎，我只要把我的这个社会工作的这些专业的一个技巧精进。但是在经过这样子的一个社会运动之后，我会发现是说，如何从我的一个服务经验当中去萃取、转换，去找出社会结构性的一个因素，然后去做这样子制度跟政策的一个倡议跟翻转，才能够带来一个更大的一个改变，让更多人的一个受惠。那这是我自己在这当中的一个学习。
Thank you, Miss Wang.
是，那我刚才看到那个Tending 的这个分享，我也觉得这是一个很棒的一个计划，因为心理健康，我想在未来会是越来越重要的一个议题。那就如我刚才的一个分享，我觉得其实任何的一个计划跟这个运动，那其实我们一定会遇到一些的这个困难，可是很重要的是在这当中。我们怎么样子去反思跟检讨，去修正，让这个一个计划可以越来的是越有效。那不知道是Tandy 在这一块有没有一个分享，是你们在过程当中是怎么样子去这种滚动性的去修正，然后更去扩大你们的这个效果跟影响力。
Thank you, Ms. Wang. I would like to say that I faced a lot of problems while implementing this project. The main challenges that I faced would be letting the participants know that it is safe to share their sensitive stories, because as a woman, we do experience a lot of things. We do have a lot of things that we cannot share. So it was a challenge to get the participants to open up about themselves. And the other thing was my project was conducted in Bangladesh. Although I am from Bhutan, since I study in Bangladesh, it was conducted in the university I study. So it is in Bangladesh. So because I'm not from Bangladesh, there was some problems and I had to return to my country, and the project could not be implemented on the time that I aimed to do it. So that was the main thing. And as well, because of the language barrier and culture barrier, I could not connect with the local organizations. There must be some local organizations that are focusing on the women's rights and mental health. But then because I am not from here, I could not connect or collaborate with them. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yuhao and Tanting. I want to know if there's any other question you want to ask each other.
I'd love to tell Ms. Wang that it is such a big sum of year in a human's life committing to social work, and it is inspiring to see young activists like me to see you here as to sharing your projects and all your works. So I aspire to be someone like you. Thank you for being an inspiring figure to us.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Tandia, we're looking forward to seeing you become CEO of another wonderful foundation. Yeah, thank you so much. And we are going to move on to our third and final group. This panel features Zena and Ondaria. So Zena and Ondaria, just like previous, each of you will have 5 minutes to do your presentation and followed by a 5-minute discussion to reflect on each other's insights. It doesn't have to be a question. You can just share your experience as well. And we also like to remind the audience that if you have any question to the speakers, please make sure to leave your message in the Q&A section. Okay, Zena, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Zainab, and I am currently appointed as the Vice President of Pakistan Rural Workers Social Welfare Organization. So since the topic of today's entire seminar is strengthening the women's movement through cross-generational unity, I'll try to include it through my project as much as I can. Next slide, please. So through the Asian Girls campaign last year, I started my project called Reaching the Unreached, which was about eliminating child early and forced marriages in the rural areas of Bahawalpur. So the inspiration to start this project came from the personal narratives of two girls that were very close to me. One of them was Sarah, who was forcefully married at the young age of 9, and the other one was Nimra, who was married at the age of 13, and they both faced a lot of difficulties. Nimra had to discontinue her education, and Sarah also faced domestic abuse, which initiated me to begin this project. Another main reason for initiation was a survey that we conducted in 10 rural villages in Bahawalpur, which is a city in the province of Punjab in Pakistan, which revealed that around 18 to 15. Next slide, please. So through my project, the following outcomes were what we were trying to look for. The first one was to reduce the incidence of early and forced marriages by 30% during the project period. The second one was to increase school enrollment rate for girls by around 20%. And the third one was to reduce domestic violence incidents by 25% during the project period. Next slide, please. Have you moved to the next slide, Patty? Because I am unable to see the transition. Maybe it's because my internet's weak.
I think it's the next slide. But maybe because the internet. Can you see the slide now, Zena? Is it correct?
Yeah, I can see it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Yeah, it is correct. Thank you, Patty. So the campaign process was that we first engaged the community and we started awareness campaigns for both the girls and their families as well. And then we brought together both religious and legal authorities to let them know the legal and religious aspects of child early and forced marriages. The third one was to encourage open discussions and reporting mechanisms so that if any girl is facing an issue or is being forcefully married, she could know what she could do in such a situation. The fourth one was social media and digital advocacy. So we started an Instagram channel, and apart from that, I also made self-made brochures, which I distributed not only in the area, but in my university as well. And I was really happy to see the positive response of students. The fifth one was youth and grassroots involvement. I involved youth through the various sessions I conducted in universities and in my university as well, where I tried to encourage people to raise their voice for issues like child early and forced marriages and domestic abuse. The sixth one was collaboration with government and NGOs. To increase the impact of the project and to bring out more people into the project, we tried to collaborate with government organizations and NGOs that work for similar causes, so that we can incorporate more people into the project. And I think Garden of Hope Foundation is a big example for that. Next slide, please. So the unique aspects of my campaign were engaging both elders and youth in the fight against CEFM. We tried to indulge activities in our sessions so that we could engage both elders and youth, and we tried to communicate and bring out both of them for the sessions so that both of them are engaged at the same time. We also tried encouraging mothers and grandmothers to challenge harmful traditions and to raise their voices, which is difficult in a country like Pakistan because of the gender inequality that we are facing here. Pakistan is ranked 145th out of the 146 countries in gender equality, which is a very bad number. And then we also tried survivor testimonies to inspire generational change. We brought out a child early and forced marriages survivors and asked them to tell their stories and share and inspire the audience so that they can also try to do something for the project. Then we also tried to combine traditional methods to influence digital advocacy. And then we tried strengthening women leadership across generations. Next slide, please. We also tried using religious and legal perspective. For example, in one of our sessions, our civil rights lawyer, Mr. Shahzad, was asked to come and deliver a seminar to religious leaders so that they can realize the legal impacts of child early and forced marriages, because a lot of times these religious leaders are ones that permit such child early and forced marriages in Pakistan. Then we also tried creating a sustainable model that could be applicable for future generations as well. Next slide, please. So after the tryout period, we calculated the results, and I was able to engage and empower around 100 girls through the project, and also tried to convince them to continue their education. Around 100 plus people were engaged in the project, including both men and women from different backgrounds. Next slide, please. Now let's move towards the impact assessment. After the project, I self-reflected, and the following were the successes. I received very positive feedback from school students, especially young girls and boys, and the girls' attitude towards education was what truly inspired me and made me really happy. The religious leaders' response in seminars was very good. That actively involved themselves in discussions and tried to talk about various possible ways to eliminate CEFM from our society. And this enabled me to work harder for my goal. The challenges that I faced were resistance from vulnerable girls and their parents. Due to the weather conditions of Pakistan, a few of my project activities were delayed. And a big challenge that I faced was how to tell the issue to kids, because they have very young minds and they are learning new things every day. So I had to tailor a lot of things and to bring out different methods so that I could tell what I wanted to them, but in a simple, easier way so that it's easier for them to understand as well. Through this, I was able to overcome all of this by the guidance of people that support me and my initiatives, including people from the Garden of Hope Foundation that truly helped me throughout my power camp, and then my chaperone, and then people from my organization as well. What I learned from this project is that I was able to gather broader views on the topic. I was able to know the views of people who are older than me, people who are the same age as I am, and then people who are even very small, to understand the issue clearly. I was also able to see a few loopholes that my project had and will do my best to correct them for the future. Self-reflection is actually the key to personal growth because it allows us to learn from the past and shape up the future. Next slide, please. This is something that was not included in the project, but since the topic was about strengthening women today, so I wanted to include it in my slide. How can we support women every day? Supporting women every day can be achieved by fostering cross-generational unity within the women's movement. By encouraging collaboration between younger and older generations, we create a stronger, more inclusive movement that values the wisdom of experience while amplifying the voices of the future. This unity helps to share knowledge, build solidarity, and push for lasting social change. Empowering women across generations ensures a more resilient and dynamic gender equality. Next slide, please. Empower all the women around us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zainab. Thank you so much for your presentation. And now we'll move on to Ondaria. Thanks so much. Ondaria, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Very exciting to hear all these stories. So what I wanted to share today when Patty and Annie asked me to share an example of a successful campaign, what came to my mind is what we call in Mongolia the quota battle. And that happened, the campaign around the political quota, right, in the electoral law for women. This happened around 2000, end of 2007 and early 2008. Next slide. So this is a story of how Mongolian women spontaneously came together and staged a really well-coordinated campaign against a very sudden revocation of the women's electoral quota by the two main political parties. At the time, one of the main parties was called the Mongolian People's Revolutionary Party, which is the former Communist Party. Now it is called MPP, Mongolian People's Party. And then the other one, the Mongolian Democratic Party, which was a merger of several opposition parties, since Mongolia is a post-communist country, and the transition to the so-called democratic transition happened in around 1990, 1989, 1990. Right? So that's the context. So this was done just 6 months before the 2008 parliamentary elections, and our parliamentary period is 4 years. And there are many violations of laws, like this period of 6 months was actually illegal because you need to have time for the president's office to review, for the president to have the possibility of vetoing laws and so on and so on. So none of that was happening, and also there were no public discussions. So that's the context. Next slide. So the story for you to understand better is that there's been, ever since the early 1990s, of course, the equal representation and participation of women in politics has been an important goal for women's organizations and also a really important part of any democracy, right? And in 2005, with the support from various international organizations, of course, UN agencies, when the Millennium Development Goals were adopted, and the national MDG goals were adopted by Mongolia, it included the commitment to introduce 30% minimum quota for women in parliamentary elections law, right? And with the support of international organizations, partisan women's organizations, these are women's NGOs that are affiliated to political parties. They joined together as the Women's Forum for Good Governance and Gender Equality. So there are 4 parliamentary parties, 4 parliamentary party-affiliated women's organizations came together, and they had been lobbying for the introduction of the 30% quota with broader support, time here and then by nonpartisan women's organizations. So in December, at the end of December 2005, the revised electoral law was adopted, and it was a big victory, a big success. The 30% minimum women's quota was included in the election law. Next slide. So things were going well. 2007 was for us a very busy time at Montpellier National Network, which is a leading feminist human rights advocacy and movement building organization in Mongolia. At the time, I was leading. We decided for the first time to organize a huge civil society New Year party because we thought that it is critical for movement building and for civil society strengthening to bring people together, not only formally, but also informally. The New Year is a huge opportunity to do something fun, but at the same time, to really push for that community building, for strengthening human identity, as progressive civil society organizations, and also to position women's rights organizations as strong leaders within broader civil society, because we think that we need to think very broadly if we want to really be successful in gender equality goals. So since we didn't have money for this kind of big party, we had never organized something like that. Our staff was super small. We were overworked, very tired, but the party was a huge success. So, I mean, those of you who run NGOs know what it means to be dead tired. And we were really looking forward, to having some rest because we were really running on the last talk of our energy. Next slide. But we had absolutely no plans for rest because we got eligible. And I think actually during that party, the women from the profession themselves came up and they said, we really need to talk because something is growing. And a few days ago, what they told us is two members of parliament, one man from, each of the male-dominated main political parties, presented jointly a draft law for consideration in the parliament, and that was on reform of electoral law. And one of the provisions was actually revocation of the 30% women's quota. All of this is done very quietly, and this is also a trick that politicians in Mongolia sometimes use when they sweep in laws during the time of big celebrations like New Year or Madam celebrations in July, when people are really focused on other things. And there was no public announcement of this whatsoever beyond minimum required in the laws. So we had not done. So imagine, it turns out just a few days before the civil society New Year party, this draft law had been presented for consideration, and the ladies and women's groups, because they are privy to the party information, they hadn't been informed, and they had already been mobilizing, and they had already been sending letters of protest and so on. So in very quickly, on 7/21, and Parliament usually doesn't work so quickly, especially when it is about human rights, and progressive legal reform. But this time they acted very quickly, and the standing committee decided, yes, we will admit this draft bill for consideration in the Parliament. And at that meeting, they were supposed to present the partisan women's NGOs letter. It was not discussed. I actually looked for the minutes of that meeting afterwards when I was doing a case study of this. Next slide. So I call that sneak attack by male parliamentarians against women's political equality efforts. So we turned into action, and Mongolia Platform Network is a non-partisan membership organization, and because we are non-partisan, we became kind of the main coordinator for this campaign. So partisan women's organizations came, non-partisan women's organizations came. We could also draw on our elements allies beyond women's rights organizations and senior women politicians, public figures. They all joined in this campaign, and important organizations like Mongolian Women's Federation, which is an inheritor group from, again, the communist period, and Mongolian Women's Fund, and so on. So actually, practically all Mongolian women and women's organizations mobilized. So what we did was, of course, figure out, okay, what happened, and what legal and ethical norms were breached, what international and national laws we can use, and so on. So very quick legal and political analysis, context analysis, and very, very, very intensive mobilization in terms of sharing our analysis and mobilizing public support, and also, of course, mobilizing resources for the people. Next. It was really a whirlwind campaign. I mean, I don't know if we even slept during those times. And I put the dates because you can see how fast-paced this was. And this is also a tactic to realize people with power. And this is actually reminding me of what Trump's administration is doing. One after another, very quick attacks, right, on human rights and freedoms and gender equality. So on December 25, the Parliamentary Standing Committee, which is the, Standing Committee needs to kind of make a pre-decision before the big parliamentary discussion. So the Standing Committee votes to revoke the quota, right? And we voted this conference, and we sent a very strongly worded appeal to MPs, but it was a bit of a formal letter, with legal analysis. Next day, the parliament meets, which is again very quick, right? And we actually do vote to remove the quota. So now the quota is revoked, right? So we gained time on national television, primetime news, and we shared our analysis. And one of the key points that we made was that the reason male politicians are doing this is they don't want to share power. Right? They want to retain the power. They want to retain the dominance. So then we had to explore other avenues of action, and we decided to address the president, to meet with the president, because now the legal option is that the president can veto the quota. So we met with the president on January 8th. The president issued the veto. Again, success, right? Yes. And I mean, that could have been the end of the story. We could have saved the quota. That didn't happen. On January 9, the Parliamentary Standing Committee votes to reject the veto. Again, very poor justification. Basically, they have no grounds for rejecting the veto. They had no grounds to revoke the quota. And we sent the second appeal to parliamentarians because now again we are facing parliamentary vote. And this time, our appeal was more remarkable because the analysis we made is that they don't care about legal matters, right? They don't care about violations of laws. This is about power. And so the only recourse for us was actually, since we don't have the power to overrule, we decided we would appeal to the conscience of the individual parliament members. And behind the scenes, also what was happening is really close work with women parliamentarians and also individual lobbying of parliament members, of male parliament members. So very intensive. And this was mostly done by partisan women activists as well as women public figures. And then on January 9, on January 10, the parliamentary vote takes place, and surprise, they actually accept the veto because 2/3 are enough of the parliament. And that is what we were pointing. We had this strategic calculation in our minds. And I wish I could show you the video, and it was a big one. So the men who were really adamantly advocating for revocation of the quota were shocked, and you can see them like looking around, like, what happened? What just happened? Because they were so calm that the veto will be rejected. Next slide. So was this the happy end? Unfortunately, no. Right? The male MPs continue to break legal and ethical norms. There's so many legal provisions that they violated. They are determined to defend the quota before they had the problem, right? And self-interest. So on January 11, again, very quickly, we held a press conference, and the Partisan Women's NGOs, held a joint press conference, and the parliament takes a revote, and they ensured that they rejected the veto. And they did it was to apply illegal pressure on fellow parliamentarians, including President Trump. And one male MP called a woman MP and said, "If you don't shut your mouth, I'm going to rape you." Physical rape would not happen, we know, but this is rhetorical violence that is used, and the sexualized violence that is used against women, specifically in the political arena. So we had a press conference, we continued our plans, we appealed again to the president, but the next legal recourse was to apply to the Constitutional Court. Only an individual can apply, an organization cannot file a complaint with the Constitutional Court. And we did that repeatedly, but the Constitutional Court was not independent and didn't really follow the letter of the spirit of the Constitution. So they refused to consider our complaint. So next slide. Now, what happened is we reached the legal dead end, right? There was no further action that could have done before the parliamentary elections were held in 2008. So in a way, if you look at kind of the result, if our goal of this campaign was to reinstate the quota, we failed. However, given our analysis of the power dynamic, of the power distribution, and of the political and personal context, we actually knew from the beginning, and we were very clear about this, that it was a minimum that we would actually manage to get the quota at this time, right? But we decided nevertheless to throw ourselves into this campaign because we wanted to show that we will not take countries lying down, that women are not going to put up with this kind of blatant, illegal, and anti-women action by male parliamentarians. We wanted to send a message that they will be held accountable, even if not right now, but then in terms of voter support and so in limited terms. And media, we actually managed to really bring media to our side. We managed to reframe the public discourse. And there were two things that I thought, okay, this is a sign of success. One was that we had reports that in a hairdresser salon, people are discussing this, what we call the quota battle. And the public opinion was actually on our side because the public saw that what we were fighting for was not only women's political representation, we were fighting for justice and democracy. So that was the important part of the reframing. And this thing we heard the report from a fellow civil society activist that male politicians expect fear of women. But literally, male politicians said, "Oh, women are so scary. We didn't expect this kind of vehement opposition to this, little dark bill." So next,
Daria, sorry for interruption, but the time is running up, so we have to remind you about time. And please closer to the mic. Thank you so much.
so yeah, this is the last slide. So the reason I really like the story or the story of this campaign is women really came together and very diverse women, different ages, different ethnicities, different orientations, women from inside the government, outside the government, women who are partisan, non-partisan, women working within the parliamentary secretariat, women aides of parliamentarians. Everybody came together. And this is, we think, really shows the power of what we can do as women. Even if we didn't practically manage to get the quota, what women can do when we come together. And I think this kind of experience really paves the way and strengthens the movement for years ahead. So just last year, there was another successful campaign, again, mobilization of very diverse women. And currently, our election law includes 40% minimum women's quota. And it's still very fragile, same thing can happen, but nevertheless, we keep going. So this is what I wanted to share today. There's so much richness to this story, but people can. I'm happy to share more information if you're interested. Over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ontaria and Zena, for your sharing. Because we're running out of time, so I would like to ask if you could just pose a question to each other, or you can just share your thoughts to each other. We have 3 minutes for you. Zena, are you still online?
Yes, I am, Patty.
Great. So do you want to start? Do you have any question for Ontaria?
So I don't really have a question because Daria explained it really well. We really delved into the depth of the issue. But I'd really like to commend Mon Feminist for their stance, to raise their voice against the government over an issue that is really important. And I'd really like to commend them that they, did not stop after the failure and they continued to do their efforts, because at the end of the day, it's not really about reaching your targets. It's definitely about influencing people along the way and bringing more people into the project, so that at the end of the day you have more people that are in favor. So a great job with the entire efforts in the project.
Thank you, Zainab. I do have a question for Zainab. And it's really wonderful to have a partner from Pakistan because part of my work in the past 5 years has been supporting several countries, including Pakistan, on gender equality, diversity, and inclusion. And one of the things that we discussed in the context of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and other countries is how we reach women and girls digitally, right? Even the use of smartphones is oftentimes not as easy, right? We hear that women and girls may not have access to smartphones or tablets or other digital devices, but also that their use of such devices is controlled by family members, by husbands, by parents, and so on. So I'm just wondering what the context of use of digital devices was in your opinion.
Okay, so oftentimes, media portrays things a bit differently, and I'd say it honestly. Now, when we look into Pakistan, even in the rural areas, people have phones, even smartphones. It's just that they might not access it to the extent of getting the benefit out of it. So a lot of activities that Pervaso and we do it on site. We go to the specific village or the specific area that we are targeting in our project, and then we try to talk to them in person. A one-on-one conversation where we could sit with them and influence them, because oftentimes despite even the use of social media, or them seeing something through social media, the influence of meeting them in person, then talking to them in person, and then trying to indulge empowerment to them in person has a better impact than social media does. So at the end of the day, it might be a hindrance when we are working on sites, but at the same time it increases the impact of what we are trying to say. So it's a win-win in both situations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zena and Undaria. Thank you so much for sharing, and it is very inspiring to us all. Now that we have heard from all our incredible speakers, I think it's time to open up about the conversation with our general panel discussion. This is a great opportunity that we have gathered like cross-generation activists in here, and we already see the discussion between you in each group. We can see that you are sharing inspiring stories. And before I ask any question, I just want to know to the speakers, do you have any question to each other, or do you want to share your thoughts toward any speaker that you really want to share? We'll use the time for that as well. So anyone? If no, then I will pose a question on my side. So I have a question for all the speakers. Since we talk about cross-generational unity, I want to know that how can younger activists and senior leaders work together more effectively to drive meaningful change? Because almost like all of you have mentioned that in your campaign or in your project, it really requires like cross-generational collaboration to achieve the goal. So I want to know about your idea, how you think that could work, how we can achieve that kind of a cross-generational like collaboration. Anybody want to go first?
Should I go first, Patty?
Sure, there we go.
So now when we talk about young activists and senior activists coming together for a project, it's certainly about mindset as well. When people from two different generations come together, they have different mindset on how to approach a particular project or a particular issue. So you're not only able to get a single perspective, you get to know a thing through multiple perspectives, and at the same time our enthusiasm and their experience in the field is what actually makes it an even better project than a single person doing it. So it's definitely about the mindset and the generational gap, I'd say, in approaching a particular topic.
Thanks so much, Dema, and that's nice to hear from you. So I want to know about other speakers. Do you have any ideas on the questions? Like how can younger activists and senior leaders work together like more effectively to drive meaningful change? I want to ask the other speakers, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes.
Okay, Marcia, there you go.
Let me first address the challenge when we are talking about intergenerations. First, we have the different source of power, and it can create hierarchy. Therefore, we need to mindful of the power relation, ensure that the senior one need to provide the space and, representation of young people and respond it positively. Secondly, we actually lack of youth representation in decision-making process. We need to ensure that as all level youth are represent their own issues. And for example, in my organization, we had the board member. So we have one youth representative among the other two, but the one youth representative also bringing their very politic. For example, we need to ensure 70% of our participants in any, conference or training will be young people. That's, something that we need to bring that forward. Most importantly, I think the young generation and, senior generation, we have a different activism. For example, traditional one, we only have, physical spaces, but young people have the digital activism. So I think we need to learn and sharing from each other and ensure that youth are not left behind. And also, the senior who experience, can also learn a lot from the young people, and we all are empowered and we're moving forward together. That's my dream. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mocha. I totally agree with that. So I want to ask about I think Ondaria, you were raising your hand before. Sorry, I missed that. You want to go?
No worries, yeah. I mean, it's a really good question, and I'm really glad that Macha brought up the issue of power, because that was like the first thing that came to my mind. We really have to, especially the older ones, because of age hierarchy. And age hierarchy is systemic. So I look at age hierarchy is one of the systems that we need to take into account when we do this, intersectional feminist movement building and solidarity building. And based on that analysis, as older feminists, older activists, we have power. And we also are not up to date on a lot of things that young people are more up to date on. So we also need to be very open and humble to learn from younger people. The other thing that I have learned, because from 2007 and particularly from 2008, Internet very intensively supported youth activism and youth campaign. And we worked for several years, we worked very intensively. And one of the things that I learned there is young people also need to be supported to build their self-confidence vis-a-vis the older folks. And they also need to be supported to kind of liberate themselves. Because contrary to what people think, because being younger doesn't mean you are more open or freer. Because what we realized is that the whole politics in the country, so after democratization, after 10 years, there was conservative politics, and we see that around the world now, right-wing populism, conservative, traditionalist, family-oriented, and so on and so on. That's actually gotten stronger in Mongolia with the younger generation, and we didn't have that growing up during socialism. So what I also realized is that young people actually oftentimes are more narrow-minded and more things down by these conservative ideas than our generation. So I think for me, what it means is that we should not stereotype any age group, right? So sometimes young people like to stereotype older people. They are boomers and this and this, and I see this kind of very hostile attitude towards older people. And then, of course, from the older generations, I see a similar kind of very hostile attitude towards younger people. And I think it is the same kind of stereotyping that when we talk about gender stereotypes, right? We have to intersect that gender stereotype with age stereotypes. So I think it is important to kind of work with both groups. And I think this works successfully when there are mediators, right? Who can actually mediate these relations and encourage the different age groups to come together. And so I would say a lot of self-awareness, humility, and solidarity and compassion. Over.
Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, I totally agree that we should not have stereotypes on whether it's age or gender. And in that sense, we could have a better collaboration and make things that more effectively and really achieve our goals. And I think I see Ms. Wong raise your hands. Do you want to share with us on the question I just posed? Yao Jie, your mic.
OK， 好，在不同世代，就是说我们的这个价值观跟策略推动这个女性运动的话，可能我们在价值跟策略上会有一些的一个差异。比如说，也许我们比较是用渐进式的，也许年轻世代比较希望是用激进或者是创新的一个方式，或者是在这个议题的优先顺序上，会有所不同。但是我觉得在这个价值策略或者是议题的优先顺序，这个如果我们有一个好的一个这个对话，去找到一个可以共识的话，那事实上我觉得跨世代的这个合作的一个机会，一个是在于就是我们的经验跟资源是可以互补的。那第二个就是，可以更扩大我们的这个影响力跟社会的一个连结，那也让我们的这个多元的一个视角可以比较更全面的一个推动。那另外当然一个部分是像这样子的比如像今天的一个交流或者是立新我们在这几年在推 AGC，都是希望可以培养更多的新一代的一个领袖。所以其实刚才在听到3位的这个年轻世代的一个分享，真的是让我非常的一个佩服，也很激励。那我希望是说，我们有这样子的一个机会跟资源的话，我们更愿意去投入这样子的一个不管是从这个经验或者是一个资源上，我们可以有更多的一个这样子的一个互补的一个机会。
Thanks so much, Ms. Wang. Yes, I think this is very precious that we have this kind of opportunity to create a platform for the cross-generational talk. And I also believe that more communication and discussion will help us to understand each other more, because every campaign or project really requires everybody to join in. It's not just man or woman. And I believe that everybody should devote into that to make it successful. And seeing that you are nodding, so Tandy, I want to know about your thoughts on that.
Yes, Miss Patty, I have been waiting to share. So I do think the same as the other activists shared. I think cross-generational unity and cross-generational cooperation to solve the problems, women-related problems, and to conduct the women movement together is very important, because we cannot say that the younger generations will work for their problems and solve their problems, because gender equality and women's movement is a long-term fight. And I believe that the older generations and the younger generations, so both generations are very important, and the older generations carry the experience and the wisdom, while the younger generations carry what things are coming and what things are like in the present. They have the knowledge of this. So in collaborating these two generations, that is called cross-generational unity, I think that will make the women's movement successful. Because if we see an easy example, in the past generation, we can see that women were not included in the works that men were doing. But now we can see that women are included. But still, the younger generations experience that the women are not paid the same salary as men, even if they are in the same job. So there is a new problem that arises generation to generation. So even if a problem is solved, another problem arises. So there must be continuity in the movement and fight. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Tandy. And I think we still have Regina. Do you want to share your thoughts with us?
Yeah, thank you. So actually, I was I'm amazed. We really all the panelists share amazing idea, and mine is not much different than theirs. I totally believe as long as we are okay to embrace the diversity, because in the cross generational unity also there we can see the direct link of the diverse of thoughts and diverse of experience, is young and senior people working together have to respect each other's diversity. And the major most important thing is empathy. If we have empathy and we became aware of the experience of seniors is equally important, and the young fresh innovative experimental ideas of young people is also equally important. So blending those two will be an amazing power together to bring much more fast, efficient, and greater change. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Regina. Sorry, speakers, because our time is really limited, but we have like I think few questions from the audience. Do you mind if I quickly drop the question to the speaker that posed by the audience? So I think I have one question for Matcha. Can you give any example of creating safe space or feminist participatory research?
Thank you so much. I also sharing the link of the documentary about our EPA, how we conduct it. But to be brief of how we ensure safe and inclusive space for Indigenous women LBQ to lead the feminist participatory action research, we need to find the physical spaces because Indigenous community are unable to access to technologies. For them, it's very difficult to travel. So we are situated the school in the community, so-called Indigenous Women's School, and we maintain, empowering processes. We maintain our feminist participatory action research that led by young Indigenous LBQ women, so that, women can participation, women can, demand, and also women can seek for solution. And we bring all of the information analyzed together and use that as the collective advocacy tool to dialogue with the government and also to present in the regional and global level. So that is how we create the safe space at the community level. We want to ensure that our women, even never go to school, be able to participation in that space. And women come with children. We have, other young people also take care of the children and create some activity with children as well. So that's some example. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matcha. And I have another question for Ondaria. So how do you view the attitude of the younger generation of Mongolian women towards political participation? What role do they play in advancing gender equality and women's rights?
Good question. I think actually younger women, especially, now they say that they are not young anymore. They're in their 30s, right? And when I started working with them, they were in their late teens and early 20s, and many of them university students. But they actually continued the political activism, feminist human rights activism. And I feel very proud that many of them actually consciously decided to pursue political career. And this is something many of us non-profit women activists don't know to do, right? Oftentimes, every election period, we would get approached, please run on our party platform and so on and so on. But we decided to maintain the non-partisan space, but also it is too much trouble, go into these male-dominated spaces. This is not an easy decision. And I feel that the younger women who have decided to, go into political parties, run, for the party council, run for elections at local parliamentary levels. And so in this country, you may need to run several times in elections to actually, get close to getting elected. And it's not just how good you are, it is about how much money you have or how much money you can mobilize and how close you are to male political leaders. But nevertheless, we really have to go into this space. And I think that this is one thing that younger women are doing, have been doing, firstly. Secondly, many young women are involved in policy advocacy for women's political equality. And thirdly, they're also involved in political leadership development, whether it is training, networking, media campaigns, and so on. So many different ways in at local and national levels, but also for partisan and non-partisan channels that women are actually doing effective work.
Thanks so much, Ondaria. And I have one final question for Ms. Wang. What are the challenges that you face toward ensuring effective cross-generational or intergenerational unity and solidarity in your country context and at the regional level in Asia? And how do you mitigate these problems and what measures do you take to overcome the challenges?
这个部分我们大概是目前看到是会有跟这些年轻世代的更多的这些 NGO 团体的这个组成哈。那可是当然也会看到，确实年轻世代的，就是他们可能在这个创意上还有这个行动上非常的强，可是确实他们会受限于就是这个可能资源或者是人脉上这些的一个限制哈。那我的经验是，目前我们好像还有一点点确实是各行其事。那其实，在今天的这个对话里面，我确实有更有意识的去思考是，诶，这好像是应该相对就是我们这些资深的这些的一个NGO 或者是这个团体的话，应该是日后是可以更有意识的去推动，然后去参与这样子的一个合作跟连结。但是当然我知道过去的一个差异，可能就是刚才我提到的是说，会有一些价值观跟策略上。路线上的一个不同，所以会影响这个合作。但是如果我们这些资深的这个 NGO，我们理解必须要先能够去理解是说，这是避免不了。可是就像刚才提到说，因为我们有一个更共同的一个这个大目标，那我们反而要能够去忽略这个差异的一个部分，而去包容我们共同目标的这个部分。那就像提到是说，哎，发挥我们的这个互补。好，或者是说，哎，我们各自这个擅长去扩大我们的这个连结跟影响力，那我觉得这个是我们后续可以去努力跟去推动的。
Thanks so much, Yuhao, for sharing. And I have to say, time really flies. I'm so sorry to rush you all, but thank you so much taking the time to show us. And I believe that this is a really inspiring, conversation for us and the audience. And for our audience, if we could not answer your question at the time, we'll make sure to reach out to the speakers afterwards. And we want to thank you so much for being here and to meet your partners and share your experience with us, which is very inspiring. And I'm so sorry that we have to wrap up the session now, but I want to thank to all our speakers. And just few quick reminders for today. First, we'd love to hear your feedback. Please take a moment to fill out our survey using the QR code on the screen or the link in the chat box or in the Q&A section. Your input is super important for us to improve, so please make sure to share that with us. Second, if you are interested in learning more about the Garden Hole Foundation or the Asian Network of Women's Shelters, check out the links in the chat box to visit our websites and Facebook pages. Finally, I believe that we have learned a lot from the sharing from Zena and Tandine. And as a part of the Garden Hole Foundation, we are happy to share with you now. We met them through the project called Asian Girls in Action Project. And now this is the time we are calling for applications, which is due on March 24th. So if you're interested in the project, please make sure to reach out to us. We will share the link in the chat box. So once again, thank you all so much for being part of this conversation. We hope today's discussion has been meaningful and inspiring for you. And to all our speakers, I would like to thank you all again for being here with us today. I'm so sorry there are some technical issues and there's never enough time for us to share with all of you, but we will stay connected and we look forward to more communication in the future. So thank you all and hope you have a lovely night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.